Good evening, everyone. It's Tuesday, December 2nd at 6:30 p.m. I'm going to be calling the Grand Chute Sanitary Commission meeting to order. Can we have a roll call order?
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get approval of the agenda and order of the day?
Gearing moves approval of the agenda and order of the day.
Mayor seconds.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there any public input? Can I get approval of the consent agenda?
Gearing moves approval of the minutes from the November 18th, 2025 meeting.
Mayor seconds.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Can I get approval of the financial reports, please?
Mantis makes a motion to approve paid vouchers for December 2nd, 2025.
Mayor seconds.
Go ahead.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We approve the financial reports. Next, we're up to item G, resolutions. SD 1022025, approving the agreement between the Town of Grand Chute and the Town of Grand Chute Sanitary District 1 regarding intergovernmental loan for water system projects, and SD 2022025, approving an agreement between the Town of Grand Chute and the Town of Grand Chute Sanitary District 2 regarding intergovernmental loan for sewer system projects. Director Watson, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. So later tonight, the board's going to take up the matter of approving a parameter resolution to issue $36.85 million in general obligation notes. Approximately $20.9 million of that relates to the water and sewer utilities. So the commission's being asked to consider adoption of two resolutions, approving an agreement between the town and the water and sewer utilities to borrow money from the town and repay it over a period of 20 years. The sale date is set for January 7th, 2026. If you have any questions, I've got Greg Johnson from Ellers here to speak at the town board meeting, but he can answer questions at this meeting as well.
Are there any questions from the commissioners? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Haley moves approval to approve Sanitary District 1, 02-2025 and Sanitary District 2, 02-2025
Mayor seconds.
resolutions.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any further discussion? Anyone opposed? That motion carries. We're now up to item H, and that would be adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Which brings us to the Grand Chute Town Board meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order. Can I get approval of the agenda and order of the day?
Gearing moves approval of the agenda and order of the day.
Mayor seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we're up to item C, the oath of office. Chief Denzine.
Firefighter Grimm, if you could take center stage, please. So it's my distinct honor to introduce our newest member, Firefighter EMT Noah Grimm. I first got to meet Noah actually when he came in for his introductory interview with me, which was a great actual experience. Got to learn that he was a college baseball player. He actually started to play, shortstop, was it? Pitcher. Memory used to be good. Left it somewhere, can't remember where. And he ended up deciding that after a year of playing baseball in college, he decided to actually follow his passions and become a firefighter and paramedic. He decided to enroll in Fox Valley Technical College, ended up getting his associate's degree, and ending up getting his certifications. During that time, he actually came by us as an intern and instantly was able to impress upon many members just his drive and determination. He left many lasting memories with them as well. One of them was that he could actually burn water. It was quite impressive watching him cook in the kitchen. But besides that, it was really great to see how involved he was and how he was a sponge for learning and being able to soak up all the knowledge that they partake and gave to him. Something that was very impressive is he was actually able to go on many calls with us during that time, and he decided to take his knowledge and further it even more so by moving home and going to Midstate Technical College, where he is currently a paramedic student. So we are extremely happy to have him join us, and we are looking forward to not only all the contributions that he will give us, but also to see his growth pattern, because he has just an extreme amount of potential, and it is just pretty inspiring to see how driven he is. So if we could at this time, so before I leave this towards the end, everybody when they get sworn in by us or promote, they actually get books, because I believe in being a forever learner. So you'll be getting 3 books tonight. You'll be getting the 5 love languages to not only build personal relationships, but to give you an insight on all of your coworkers as well. You get the total money makeover, because now that you're getting a plethora of cash coming in, to learn how to use it appropriately and to use it for the good. And the last one is to have extreme ownership by Jocko Willings. And that's because not only do we have extreme ownership in the department and the community, but also into each other. So we want you to learn all those 3 things. So if we could invite the clerk down to come swear you in. And before we do that, if we could have your significant person come and pin you, please.
I state your name.
I, Noah Grimm,
Having been appointed as a firefighter EMT
having been appointed a firefighter and EMT
in and for the town of Grand Chute,
in and for the town of Grand Chute,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
faithfully discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
Now we're next up to item D, presentation. Director Petsa, would you introduce our...
Thank you, Chair. We have 2 representatives from RDG Planning and Design I would like to invite up to give us the presentation.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, board members. Charlie Cowell, RDG Planning and Design, my colleague Maya. Here to give you an update on the housing study that we've been working on for the past number of months. If you recall, I was here giving an update. I believe it was back in July or August, kind of kicking off the process. And now we're here to give you some of the preview of some of the findings of the housing study. We still have a little ways to go here on wrapping it up and getting final comments, which we'll talk about here this evening. There we go. So what we'll find out today in this presentation is there is a need, obviously, for quite a bit of home demand in Grand Chute. Over 2,100 homes would be needed to meet demand between now and 2035 to capture pent-up demand in the market and then needs for new people moving to the area. And we'll talk today on how that's split between owner and renter, different price points, and how we get there. Just as a kind of reminder on our final steps, we are meeting our final time with our technical committee, which is made up of folks and stakeholders from the community and a variety of expertise that we've been meeting with regularly. So we're meeting with them tomorrow to go over kind of final draft of the study, and we'll be wrapping up and making refinements this month on final edits and draft ready to, our final document ready to go later this month. So today we just want to do a little overview of some of the market and community input insights and snapshot. We'll talk about that demand forecast in a little more detail, and then talk about some of the goals and strategies of how we meet those needs in the future. So I'll turn it over to Maya here to kick us off with some of the market snapshot numbers.
We'll be pretty brief here, but we wanted to just give you a little bit of insight on the data and things that inferred us as we got and worked towards those goals and strategies. One of them being the different population and the growth that the community has seen over the last couple of decades, and a lot of that growth being in that 25 to 34 age bracket and also the 75 to 84 age bracket, and how that infers the different types of housing needs, knowing that as we are different phases of our lives, we require or want different things out of our housing. This next one, just looking at the different incomes and what residents might be able to afford. Grand Chute actually has a higher median income in both renters and homeowners than the county as a whole, and that stayed true since 2010. And then also looking at the fact that younger households have higher incomes and what they might be able to afford or not be able to afford based on the other costs through their household, which we'll talk a little bit about later also. We've pulled out a couple of quotes, and I'll let you read them. I won't read them to you, but these are just things that people are really saying. So it's not just the data that we're looking at, but these are things that we heard through our community survey, which received over 300 responses earlier this summer. We also look at commuter data and understanding that there are a lot of people traveling to Grand Chute every day to work, and the opportunity that's there with, if we pull these people in and they have availability, a place that they want to live here, they might want to be here, and seeing that opportunity. And also one thing that we saw here that Charlie pointed out earlier is that a lot of these households of these inbound commuters are larger households. They might be families, growing families, and so what types of housing they might be looking for here in the community. This is information about occupancy, and a lot of our younger households are renting. That is not necessarily abnormal across communities, but different opportunities for those renters to have something other than apartment complexes. This bottom graph is showing that when you take out the single-family households, there's very limited options for a renter of what they're looking for in terms of other than multifamily. And I think here I'll pass it over back to Charlie.
Yeah, and we start then to dive more into, okay, we know a little bit more about the demographics, the people that are working here that may want to live here, a portion perhaps. We start to then look at what's restricting them from getting their preferences or needs. And from a cost standpoint, obviously we all know that rising home prices are an issue, median rents as well. But kind of a standard metric, I guess, for affordability is you shouldn't spend more than 30% of your income on housing. If you're spending more than that, you're considered cost burden according to the census. Grand Chute actually, when we look at that metric, isn't terribly out of line with other communities. In fact, it's lower in some of the categories of cost burdenness, which may imply some incomes, particularly for renters that may want to own if something was available that fit what they're looking for. But we should point out, obviously, affordability issues are not absent in Grand Chute. There's actually concentrated areas where there is a higher cost burden in the community, particularly as you see in those darker blue shades, where we have folks that are struggling maybe more than others to afford housing, and as a result then are sacrificing on other parts of their lives, whether that's healthcare or childcare or whatever that might be. So it tends to be some of your older neighborhoods, established neighborhoods, maybe older apartment complex areas too. And we heard a lot about this in our listening sessions, which we held. 2 days of listening sessions, I think 9 sessions, in addition to the community survey with people throughout the community that were telling us kind of similar things. But really what it boils down to is we've got a mismatch between what's on the ground built today and what people need or can afford. So this is kind of a complicated chart, but in general what it's showing is at the highest income level for households making more than $150,000, there's a gap in units that would fit what they could reasonably afford being under 30% of their income. Meaning that those people are living somewhere, so they're living in lower price units. And by doing that, they're taking that unit from maybe someone else that it would better fit their financial needs. So then those people are then having to compete and or live in maybe apartment units that would rather be an owner than live in an apartment, and so on. We also see a gap then also in the middle income ranges for people that are maybe a little bit above the area median income, maybe call it workforce housing, where there's really not enough ownership options or renter options for that matter to fill those needs. So then those people are having to move into different areas that maybe are not what they prefer. And then our last gap is at the lowest income range, and this is almost in every community we go into and work. There's a need for affordable housing, subsidized options for people at the lowest income levels. That's a gap we see everywhere, and it's not uncommon in places. Some of that might be some student population, although probably more of that might be seniors on fixed incomes who their income levels hit in that age bracket when they might be living in paid off mortgage housing. And we really haven't seen at least the market activity in Grand Chute maybe filling some of those missing gaps. A little bit at the high end with some single family development over the years, but we've, as you know, have seen mostly multifamily and single family, and that multifamily mostly being in kind of apartment complex type development, not a ton of variety. And the community has recognized this as well. We heard actually quite a bit through the survey, through the listening sessions, folks that are interested in purchasing a home, but they're just not able to, one, maybe find something that meets their needs. Maybe it's bedrooms for families, higher space or yard or whatever, or the price point's not there for them. They can afford a rental comfortably, but making the jump to ownership isn't feasible. And people are saying, you know, we need more 2 to 3 bedroom houses, maybe mid-size ownership, even townhomes and duplex was pretty favorable to folks when we talked about living arrangements that they may find needed. And we all know the situation then with the cost, which I've kind of jumped ahead to a little bit. But when we look at new construction prices of sales data, it's averaging in last year was around $416,000 for new construction, existing homes around $351,000, just as a kind of level setting of price points today of where we're at. So we use all this data with the community input to then form a demand forecast for the future. What what do we need in the community, and what are people able to afford and price points going forward. So considering your comprehensive plan population projection, which is a 1.17 annual growth rate, plugging that into our demand modeling, shows here kind of the breakdown of our ownership to renter occupied unit split through 2035. These numbers aren't hard numbers necessarily, like they're more like ranges, so plus or minus. They're not meant to be like the market's going to crash if we don't hit this number, but in general, it's kind of giving a magnitude of need at different price points. And just for reference, your kind of average unit construction in the past few years was around 109 units annually, and this projection is about 195 units annually. So a significant jump in need to fill the housing demand.
Can I ask a question? If you did, and I missed it, I apologize. How do you define a housing unit?
Housing unit would be a unit for one household. So,
But living room, kitchen, 2 bathrooms, 5 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms?
Correct.
What is it?
it could be a house with all of that, would be one unit. It could be an apartment unit, unit. It could be a duplex. One side of a duplex would be one. So a duplex would be 2 units.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so this breaks it down by price point, and then we also break it down by type of housing type, excuse me. So saying that, there's different types of housing to be able to accommodate different price points. For example, it's gonna be very difficult at least currently, to build ownership occupied housing under, really under 350, maybe even higher than that. So there's going to be new models that we need to help incentivize and demonstrate and make possible to hit those ownership price points. That may be smaller lots, that may be townhome ownership arrangements, or other possibilities that will help meet that market. So there's a number of ways that the draft study will identify going after this, and just as a reminder, there's again kind of a mismatch between certain people that can comfortably rent in the community but can't make that jump to what ownership costs are. And so, for example, a two working adult household with 2 kids, say 2 school teachers, they may be able to get at like $375,000 ownership option, but that's not considering other debts they might have, student loans, other costs. But they're not going to be able, based on the current market, get that in new construction. That would have to come through what's existing on the ground today, which is a big reason to add supply and encourage people to move out of existing homes into other options that better meet their needs. And so we have 5 goals, and going to kind of skim through these since I know we don't want to take up all your time this evening, but 5 goals will be identified in the draft or in the final study you'll see to help meet and achieve the needs in the demand study. Goal 1 is expand the supply of development-ready land that promotes growth. We all know there's constraints in Grand Chute for new land for significant subdivision growth. But there's ways, obviously things we can't control. We can't control the cost of lumber and the cost of other items that go into production, but we can influence permits, fees, approval processes, even land and site prep as well. And so there's a number of ways, not just allowing more products in more areas that could stimulate different mixed housing types arrangement. There could be front-end gap financing, site preparation, which the study will go into detail. You're already doing some of this in the town-owned lot development here next door, and infrastructure partnerships. And then relationships is going to be really important with property owners of developable land and the building and development community as well. Goal 2 is really an important one. It kind of bleeds into all of them. Create ways to diversify the housing stock and price points. One way to kind of try to meet some of the target price points for ownership is to offer more ownership options other than just single-family detached homes on relatively larger lots. That can make ownership more affordable. And also, we still do need to build at those units as well, because there may be people in existing homes in Grand Chute that would move if something was available, and that would then open up a more affordable existing unit for someone else that maybe is already renting in the community or wants to move to the community for a job or whatever that might be. So there's a handful of things here. One kind of top of list is zoning code, which you're already working on updating to allow more flexibility and different housing arrangements in more areas. Demonstration projects are good with what you're already working on some of your lot development. That can improve the market and then reduce risk for developers who don't have to take that risk on a product that's not in the market already. They can see the success of something, and then they'd be more likely to try it if they're not the ones taking the initial risk. Mentioned site assembly already, partnerships, tying affordability to where appropriate for incentives and various other items. I kind of touched on this already, but goal 3 is preserving the existing housing stock. You have a relatively new housing stock when we think of Wisconsin in general and the Midwest. But that being said, there's repair needs and things, and as we saw previously, a lot of the folks living in the existing housing stock, or I shouldn't say a lot, but a portion of folks living in those existing housing units may not have the income levels to be able to keep up with repairs and maintenance and a big emergency or something. So we do need to make sure that we're taking care of what we have, and there's a number of ways that you already have some programs that target that, but there's ways to continue to add to that layering of abilities to assist those folks. Obviously, Habitat's part of this too, and other partners in the nonprofit community. One thing that's also unique about Grand Chute is you have a significant amount of commercial land that is prime for different opportunities too, and some of that's already being thought about with the College Avenue planning, but that's definitely a priority to offer more maybe higher end mixed use type arrangements that maybe older empty nesters might desire, or even young professionals. So we need to continue to make sure that mixed use development will be allowed through your zoning updates. There's also opportunities in those areas to provide transitional housing or mixed income developments that are specifically near transit routes we know there's people that need those services and need more transitional housing needs, so that's an opportunity there as well. And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, that ties into all the goals, is aligning kind of approvals with these housing goals. So as you update the zoning code, making sure it's a clear process, looking for ways to approve things quicker when they meet the goals of the housing and comprehensive plan vision, and create certainty. One thing that is really a deterrent to development is perception or real risk that a developer or builder sees. And so by being predictable and consistent, you can start to reduce at least some of that risk that they think they might be taking up front by trying some different things. And then we've also, you'll see in the study, has tied some of these recommendations to policy areas as well. I won't go into detail on each one of these, but generally there's some policies that will be appropriate citywide or townwide, and others are more effective when they're targeted at certain areas. So that's what the policy area map will go into a little more detail. For example, repair programs are more effective when they're kind of targeted rather than citywide, because then you can move to different areas as each area gets kind of targeted over time based on the age of housing. So that was a ton of dumping. I just want to be, not take up all your time this evening, but happy to answer any initial reactions or questions. But again, just as a reminder, still editing the draft, getting final comments from our committee here in the next couple of weeks, and polish up that final document to be delivered to you first thing in January.
Thank you, that's a lot to go through.
Yeah, it's a ton.
I have a lot of questions myself. Do you have anything that you wanted to ask these two now?
Did you look at the data relative to our multifamily based off of how much single family we have? Like, what is the percentages? What did you find with that?
Yeah, you're about 50-50 as far as owner-renter split in the community, roughly-ish. So that's really quite a bit different than your peers in the region, in the metro area. So that is where you're seeing in the demand numbers. We're focusing a little bit more heavily on ownership options, like a 60-40 type split for the next 10 years. There is some pent-up demand of people wanting to own, and so.
So with our peer communities, it's not 50-50, it's?
No, it's more, depending on the community, but it's usually 60-40 or 65-35-ish, roughly, depending on.
Home ownership to rental
Yeah,
property. Okay,
yeah.
multifamily, okay.
Yep.
Madam Chair, I can offer to the board members too, and there's a lot of information to digest, and if you have questions or comments, feel free to send those to me, and I can share those with the team from our consultant and kind of get those addressed, and if there's back and forth that needs to happen, I can certainly facilitate that as well.
If I could, so Mike, the development that we've been doing, the cluster development over here, refresh my memory, I thought those were smaller lots, right? Garages typically in the rear, and then, are those 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom? Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head. No, there's certainly smaller lots and smaller homes. The lot sizes are much smaller than what our traditional minimum would be. It's using our cluster subdivision section of our code. If I remember correctly, the homes were, I think they were 2 bedrooms, 2-bath, 1,200 square feet. They'd have full basements. The ones that would front White Hawk would be the backloaded versions that you're talking about, where the front of the homes and the porch, if you will, would connect right to the sidewalk in a short distance. The ones on the west side of the new street that we're looking to put in, or they're looking to put in as part of the development, those would be more traditional garage-loaded units that you might see elsewhere, but just much smaller. The lot sizes are like, they're in the square feet, they're not in they're acres, but it's like a 1/10 of an acre, 1/12 of an acre, that kind of thing.
And we revised our ordinances to allow for that type of development?
It's always been allowed, not many have utilized it. So I think what the role so far in the town has been and will be in that development is, because we have control over land, we can obviously offer that as an incentive to build these units. And also the fact that we amended the TIF district to include this area to help pay back some of the costs for the infrastructure. Because if I'm being honest, if we just sold that land at market rate, and a developer that, there's many around here that would like to come in and build, 5, maybe 10 homes there, they'd be $450,000 and a 1/3 acre. That's what you'd see.
Okay. So for Charlie, to get to your point in your presentation, and I appreciate the detail, when you talk about existing homes and older homeowners looking for other opportunities, would a cluster development be a different opportunity where they have a smaller footprint and a smaller home?
I would say particularly, yeah, if it's empty net, people that are freshly retired, perhaps, that maybe don't need as much space as they currently have, and if that's a smaller footprint option for them to easier to take care of, and especially if it doesn't have stairs, might be something that they would demand. But I would say young people too that maybe are making above median wages. Maybe it's a 2-person household, no kids. That would be something that might be appealing to, depending on the sales price, but would also be appealing to them as kind of their first step into ownership.
Thank you.
I think that when the developer made his presentation, if I remember correctly, he was targeting starter homes. Yeah. $350,000 was the price point, right?
A little bit
So-
lower, but yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of fits some of what you talked about in your data, right? That's something that we need to have for
Yeah.
people to get in the housing market.
Yeah, because like you said, we talked to a lot of people, and the data shows a little bit of this too. Is there's people that have renters, I should say, that have above, close to median or above incomes, and so they're not knowing personal situations on how much student loans they have and other things, but they're probably able to save a little bit, but maybe not for a $425,000 new house. It's too much of a jump. So they need, if they want to get to ownership, they need something in between. Yeah.
Did you address at all the percentage of rehabilitatable homes that we have in Grand Chute?
Yeah, we did, which is the basis for some of the policy map you saw. We looked at, you have really good condition rating data that we were able to obtain and kind of look at the areas that were most in need, maybe not always immediately, but maybe in the next 5 years, 10 years, need some upkeep. So yeah, we did look at that data. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Look forward to hearing your final deliverable. Oh, thank you. Is there any public input? Can I get approval of the consent agenda?
Gearing moves approval of the minutes from the November 17th and 18th, 2025 meeting, and the licenses and all items listed under 2A, B, and C.
Lair seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Can I get approval of the financial reports?
Motion to approve paid vouchers for December 2nd, 2025.
Lair seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We're up to item H, resolution TBR 2025, authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $36,850,000 general obligation promissory notes, series 2026A. Director Watson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as the board may recall, late in 2024, we borrowed money for capital expenditures we made from January 1st of 23 through June of 24. Well, another 18 months has passed, and it's time to reimburse ourselves for projects we've already spent money on, plus some additional larger projects that we anticipate doing in the next few months. So tonight, we're taking up the matter of parameter resolution for $36.85 million. And at this point, I'm gonna kick it over to our Ellers consultant, Greg Johnson, to talk us through the process.
Thank you.
Thank
Good evening. Included in your packet, in conjunction with the resolution, was our pre-sale report, which provides the financial analysis and illustrates the impact of the proposed financing that you're considering this evening. So I'm going to walk through the financial exhibits that are after the narrative report in our pre-sale report to kind of give the overview and the financial impact. So Table 1 in our pre-sale report is a summary of the town's existing debt outstanding before we look at the impact of this proposed issuance. So in that table on the far left-hand side is the existing principal and interest payments that the town has outstanding for its existing debt. There are some other expenses that are budgeted in your debt service fund related to the town's debt management. Those are accounted for as well. Typically, when the town issues debt, it issues and finances projects and that gets repaid by multiple revenue sources. So with this financing, we'll talk about in a few moments, but your existing debt has similar characteristics. There's debt that was issued for water projects related to Sanitary District Number 1, sewer projects for Sanitary District Number 2, stormwater projects for Sanitary District Number 3. You have some special assessments that you collect that pays debt service, and then you have revenues from TID Districts 1, 2 and 3 and 4 that repay their respective share of debt service. So when we look at your total gross payments, we want to account for those non-levy revenue sources that are helping repay your debt service. So in the table 1, in the column labeled net tax levy, that shows your existing tax levy for debt service before we look at these proposed notes. So see your debt service levy in 2025 and 2026 was relatively unchanged, about $2,533,000. Your levy for debt service in your adopted 2026 budget was $2,530,000. So your levy the last 2 years for debt has remained the same. So in a few moments, we'll look at the impact of this proposed borrowing. As Director Watson mentioned, the projects that are being financed really encompass project costs that have been incurred since July of 2024 through the end of this fiscal year and into the next few months of 2026. In Table 2, we've included a detailed listing of all of those project costs, and then in the repayment category, we identify the revenue source that will repay the debt for that project. So it really consists of the tax levy for debt service, water user charges, sewer user charges, or particular TIF district revenues. So the total project cost being financed is $36,200,000. In Table 3 is the sources and uses. When you finance projects, it's all being financed with one note issuance, but then we allocate the debt by repayment source. So the portions that are repaid by the levy are amortized over 20 years. Water and sewer projects are amortized over 20 years. And then TID 2 and TID 5, the debt is amortized over the maximum life of those districts. So district number 2 collects incremental 2037, TID district number 5 collects incremental 2045. So the debt structure to take into account the increment collection years. So the total amount that's being authorized for financing is $36,850,000. In Table 4 is the estimated debt service schedules broken down by repayment source. So in the first set of numbers, we show the portion of the debt that is anticipated to be repaid by the property tax levy, and then debt that is anticipated to be paid by water and sewer revenues. In the parameters, which I'll speak to in a moment in the resolution, there are certain financial conditions that have to be satisfied for the note sale to be awarded. One of those parameters is that the true interest cost on the notes cannot exceed 4.47%. That is reflective of this debt service schedule and this financing plan. So to legally award the sale of the notes, and I'll talk about the sale process in a moment, the debt service costs can't be any higher than what we are showing in this report. So that Table 4 continues on to the next page where we show the amortization schedules related to TID 2 and TID 5. And then in the far right-hand column is just the gross debt service payments for the entire issue. So the interest rates that we're using are a little higher than what we're seeing in the market now to kind of build in some cushion. But it is, again, this schedule reflects a not to exceed debt service amount that's established in the parameters resolution. So in terms of the impact on the debt levy for the property tax levy for debt service, that's shown in Table 5. So on the far left-hand side, we've carried forward your existing levy for debt service for your existing debt that's outstanding. Then we show the gross principal and interest payments for the notes, the revenue sources from water, sewer, TID 2, and TID 5. And then under the debt service levy, total net debt service levy, that's where we show the impact and change in your debt service levy incorporating these notes. So as I mentioned before, your levy for the 2025 budget and 2026 budget for debt service was relatively flat. Payments on this issue won't start until 2027. So So you'll see, with the levy impact of this financing, the debt service levy is projected to go up approximately $989,000 from 2026 to 2027. So in terms of the tax rate per thousand of value, you're at about 58 cents in 2026. That'll be about 77 cents per thousand with 4.9% growth in your valuation in 2027. So that's kind of the impact of the financing. I know in the memo that Director Watson prepared, it kind of summarized, and broke down the project costs by repayment source. So that property tax levy increase, reflects about 10.8 million of project costs that are being repaid by the debt service levy. And then the balance of the debt service will be repaid by non-levy revenue sources, water, sewer, and TID revenues. Another factor that we look at is your general obligation borrowing limit, which is summarized in Table 6. So this is a state statutory requirement. The amount of principal of general obligation debt that the town has outstanding cannot exceed 5% of the town's total equalized value. So projecting forward at the end of 2026, with this financing in place at $36,850,000, the town would be at about 32% of its debt limit. You'd have $161 million of general obligation borrowing capacity remaining. The town in its financial policy states that you generally do not want to exceed 50% of your statutory debt limit. So you're still under that threshold even with this particular financing. So in terms of where we're at in the debt issuance process and the resolution that is on your agenda, as was stated, this is a parameters resolution. The town has used this method and process to sell debt before. And in the parameters resolution, it specifies certain financial criteria that must be satisfied on the day of sale in order for the sale to be awarded. Those parameters that are really most applicable is that there's a not to exceed borrowing amount, so you can't borrow any more than what was shown in this financing plan, $36,850,000. And then I mentioned it has a maximum true interest cost of 4.47%. If the bids come in that produce a true interest cost higher than that, the sale cannot be awarded. What the parameters resolution does practically is it delegates authority to town staff to accept the sale results on behalf of the town if those parameters are satisfied. One of the other practical benefits of using a parameter sale approach is it gives us some flexibility in terms of when we conduct the sale. So lots of communities meet on Monday and Tuesday nights in Wisconsin. So there's lots of sales that occur on Monday and Tuesdays. So a parameter sale allows you to schedule that where there's potentially less competition in the market. So what we're proposing is that the sale would occur on January 7th, which is a Wednesday, and then the closing would occur in early February, and that's when the town would receive the proceeds. So the resolution that's on your agenda essentially authorizes us and staff to proceed with the issuance of the notes, and then on the day of sale, all those financial parameters have to be satisfied. If they are not, the sale cannot be awarded. So that's the overview of the financial impact, the parameters resolution that's before you for consideration. I'm happy to take questions, or if staff has other comments they want to make, certainly welcome their input as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you go one more time through Table 6 with what our proposed debt is going to be and what existing debt window we have for future?
Sure. So if you look on the far left-hand side, it shows in the far left-hand column, that's your total equalized value, projected at a growth rate at 4.91%, which is about your 5-year average discounted by 50%. So it's kind of a conservative growth rate. Then in the next column, the debt limit, that's 5% of the total equalized value. So that's the maximum amount of principal that you can have outstanding. So existing principal outstanding is your existing debt that already exists today. And then the columns in orange, the proposed debt, we show the principal outstanding for the notes, combine the existing principal and your proposed principal for these notes, and then that percent of debt limit under the proposed debt column, that shows, where you will be with these notes. So at the end of 2026, you'll be at about 32% of your debt limit. You'd have total borrowing capacity remaining of about 161,000, but your internal policy, you wouldn't have that percentage exceed 50%. So you're still, under that threshold, leaving room for future financings.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
What are the wishes of the board?
Haley moves to approve Town Board Resolution 15-2025.
Lair seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. We're now up to item I, closed session. I would entertain a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851G, conferring with legal counsel about strategy regarding current or likely litigation, specifically to discuss state case number 2024 CV00893, John Urban Jr. versus the Town of Grand Chute et al., and 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of an employee, specifically to discuss prospective contract terms and salary range for the town administrator. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Haley seconds.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. I know, I tried this all day. No, I don't think so.
Maybe give us a second. Give us a second.
Yes, I printed.
They'll be back in before 9, don't worry.
He keeps on talking about lawyers and boats. That's where that came from.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Daley moves to adjourn.
Lair seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying.
Wait for Tim to get up to his microphone.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.